Okay, right, well I'm going to talk about how we're going to cut the thread. We'll start to cut the thread nice and square on the end of the shaft. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use a lathe to be able to do that thread cutting operation. That's going to help me to get the thread started. I'm going to put the shaft in halfway into the jaws of the chuck. I'm going to have quite a, about half of it sticking out, and we're just going to make sure I've nipped that nice and tight. I want to try and get it as tight as I can. Okay, yeah, because I want to be able to spin that chuck. Now I've knocked it out of gear, so that chuck spins freely. Okay, now I've got my M10 die. There it is there. Look, you see the die fits in here, and it pushes up against that shoulder there. Now when you thread, okay, you want to thread this way, so it pushes up against that shoulder, not that way, because it's going to force it out. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to start the thread in the lathe, I'm going to use the lathe to start it. I'm going to position, so this is the quill in the tailstock, the quill, or you can call it a sleeve, okay, and I'm going to, I've got chamfer on the end of the shaft here, and that helps to the die to fit over the end of the shaft. I'm going to lock it into position in the tool holder. Okay, now that can't move anywhere. Alright, that's just going to stay. The tool holder is just going to help to keep it into position. I'm going to slide, yeah, the tailstock as far as I can. I'm going to lock the tailstock into position, and I'm going to move the quill up, the sleeve up, okay, right up against. Now I'm going to try and, this is going to keep the thread nice and square at the end of that shaft. Now I'm only going to cut the thread 5mm. And what I'm doing is, with it out of gear, I'm going to turn that, and I'm going to turn this handle at the same time. This is moving clockwise. I'm moving the chuck anti-clockwise, and I'm just going to start to, okay, I'm just moving that like that, yep, that, and I'm keeping this, so I want to keep this so it's nice and flat against it, and it's helping to start to cut the thread nice and square, okay, on that shaft. Now I can do this, yeah, now I can do it for a few turns, and yeah, and then I know once I've done it for a few turns, I can then move the tailstock back. Okay, there you go, you can see it's about halfway through the die, yeah, so it's pretty secure now, so I can move this away like that. Okay, I can come round, I can lock it, I can lock that now so it's solid, and I can start to use the 3-jaw chuck as a vise, and I can start to cut that thread. Now I'll use a bit of tapping fluid on there as well. Make sure I've used a little bit of cutting fluid on there. Okay, now because the machine's off when I'm using it, it's isolated, you don't need to wear your safety glasses, just a dust coat, your boots, your hair tied up still. Okay, tie, I would still have your tie tucked in to your shirt or removed. Okay, and then you can just continue to thread it, turn it one way to cut, turn it back to release the swarf. Okay, and you're going to cut it for that 5mm in length. Yeah, turn it round in the chuck. Okay, and I can do the same to the other end. Okay, there's your thread.